Late at night, Emily sat alone in Lucas's quiet hospital room, her usual gentle words filling the silence. Suddenly, his hand twitched. She gasped. Then, in a weak, broken whisper, he said, "My brother did this." Emily's heart pounded. She was the only one who heard him. As she leaned in, desperate to hear more, the heart monitor let out a sharp, endless beep. It flatlined. Emily's eyes widened in shock. What just happened? A moment to thank each of you for being part of this journey. If you're drawn to stories of kindness and love in unexpected places, consider subscribing. It's completely free and helps support more stories of resilience and rebirth. Now let's witness how this love story grew and survived. Trials. 6 months earlier, Emily Parker walked into Greenfield Private Hospital with her usual quiet determination. She had always been the kind of nurse who went the extra mile, not because she had to, but because she believed every patient, even those who couldn't speak, still mattered. That was the day she was assigned to room 507, a private suite that belonged to Lucas Bennett, the billionaire who had been in a coma for nearly a year. Everyone whispered about Lucas. They called him the Sleeping King, a man who had ruled empires of business but now lay trapped in silence. Most of the staff had given up on him. They believed he was a lost cause. Some even said he'd never wake up. But Emily didn't see a billionaire. She saw a human being, a man who might still be able to hear, to feel, to fight. Her days quickly fell into a rhythm. Every morning she would gently touch Lucas's hand and say, "Good morning, Mr. Bennett. It's me, Emily." She told him about her life, about the hospital, about the world outside. She brought him stories from the news, flowers from the hospital garden, and music, classical symphonies, soft jazz, even old love songs. She wanted him to remember what life sounded like. At first, it was just part of her duty, but soon it became personal. Emily found herself talking to Lucas like he was listening. She laughed when she told him funny stories. She cried when she spoke about her late father. Day after day, she poured pieces of her heart into that silent room, hoping that somehow, some way, Lucas could hear her. It wasn't long before she noticed something no one else did. A faint twitch of his right index finger when she told him a particularly emotional story. A slow blink when she played his favorite Mozart piece. Subtle, tiny things. When she told the other nurses and doctors, they brushed her off. They said it was muscle spasms, nothing more. Even Dr. Sylvia Harris, her supervisor, warned her not to get too attached. But Emily couldn't ignore what she saw. It was during one of those quiet evenings that Emily first crossed paths with Ryan Bennett, Lucas's half-brother. Ryan was tall, charming, and always wore a smooth, polished smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He would visit Lucas now and then, but not with warmth. His visits were always short, cold, and filled with impatient sighs. One afternoon, Emily overheard Ryan talking to Dr. Harris outside Lucas's room. "There's no point dragging this out," he said, his voice low but sharp. "Lucas wouldn't want to live like this. It's time we make arrangements to let him go." Emily's stomach twisted. She wanted to speak up, but she knew it wasn't her place. Still, something about Ryan's urgency felt wrong, like he wanted Lucas gone, not for mercy, but for something else. As days passed, Emily noticed more signs of life in Lucas, slight hand movements, flickers of his eyelids, a small but steady increase in his brain activity charts. Every time she reported it, she was told not to misread false hope, but Emily trusted her instincts. She saw him trying. And Ryan? He only grew more frustrated. He started pushing harder, hinting to the hospital board that Lucas's care was draining resources, that maybe it was time to shift him to a lower-level facility where he would eventually slip away quietly. Emily knew what that meant. If Lucas was moved, he would likely never survive. And she couldn't let that happen. One night, sitting by Lucas's bedside, Emily made a quiet promise. "I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm not giving up on you. I'm going to fight for you, Mr. Bennett. I don't care if no one else believes in you. I do." In that moment, something shifted inside her. It was no longer just about doing her job. It was about saving him. What Emily didn't know was that the man she had promised to fight for carried a secret so dangerous it would soon pull her into a storm of betrayal, lies, and life-threatening choices. She had no idea that the brother who seemed so eager to let Lucas go was the same man Lucas would one day whisper about in the dark. She had no idea that the real battle was just beginning. The days passed, but Emily Parker's determination never wavered. Every shift she visited Lucas Bennett's room, speaking to him softly, sharing pieces of her life, reading books, and playing music that once filled his boardroom. And slowly, so slowly that anyone else might have missed it, Lucas began to respond. It started with faint twitches. His fingers moved when she spoke about her father's garden. His eyelids fluttered when she played Mozart's Piano Sonata, No. 16. At first, Emily thought it was her imagination, but then the movements became more regular, more deliberate. She began to secretly document everything: times, dates, responses. She kept a small notebook hidden in her pocket, knowing that no one would take her seriously unless she had proof. Other nurses shrugged off her observations. "It's just muscle memory," they said. "False signals, nothing more." But Emily knew what she saw. One afternoon, Dr. Sylvia Harris paused at the nurses' station, flipping through Lucas's charts. "Emily," she said with a firm tone, "don't set yourself up for disappointment. Sometimes we see what we want to see." "I know what I'm seeing," Emily replied softly, not arguing but not backing down either. It was that same week when Ryan Bennett returned to the hospital, walking in with the same cold charm that made Emily's skin crawl. His polished shoes clicked loudly down the hallway, his expensive suit perfect as always, but his eyes held no warmth. Ryan met privately with Dr. Harris. Emily overheard just enough to make her heart race. "I think it's time to move him to West Hill," Ryan said, his voice low but sharp. "There's no point keeping him here. It's too expensive for, well, nothing." "West Hill?" Emily whispered to herself. West Hill was a long-term care facility, a quiet place where patients like Lucas often never left. Once someone was sent there, they faded away, forgotten. Her pulse quickened. Why was Ryan in such a rush? Why now? Emily followed Ryan as he exited Dr. Harris's office, keeping her distance. She watched as he made phone calls in hushed tones, his jaw tight, his words clipped. Something wasn't right. It wasn't just about money. It felt like Ryan wanted Lucas gone. That night, Emily stayed long after her shift ended. She sat quietly beside Lucas, the room bathed in the soft glow of a bedside lamp. "Lucas, I know you're in there. Please, if you can hear me, give me a sign." Her voice trembled. "They want to move you, but I don't think it's safe. I need you to fight." She held his hand, her thumb gently rubbing small circles across his skin. Minutes passed in silence, and then his fingers twitched. Not just a spasm. He squeezed her hand. Emily's breath caught. "Lucas," she whispered, leaning in. His eyelids fluttered, slowly lifting. For the briefest moment, his dull blue eyes met hers. Confusion, fear, panic. His breathing became shallow, his heart monitor beeped faster. Emily's own heart thundered in her chest. "You're awake," she gasped, tears forming in her eyes. "It's okay. I'm here. You're safe." But his eyes darted toward the door. Panic flared in his gaze. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Ryan Bennett stepped inside, his voice smooth. "Still here, Nurse Parker? Quite the dedicated one, aren't you?" The moment Ryan entered, Lucas's eyes widened in terror. His trembling hand slipped from Emily's. His breathing slowed. His eyes fluttered shut as if he was forcing himself back into the safety of darkness. "Lucas?" Emily whispered urgently. "No, please, stay with me." But the heart monitor steadied. Lucas was silent once more, slipping back into his unreachable shell. Ryan glanced at the monitor, then at Emily, smirking slightly. "Another quiet night, huh?" Emily forced a tight smile, masking the storm inside her. "Yes, just another quiet night." Ryan stepped closer to Lucas's bed, his gaze lingering on his brother with something that looked far too close to satisfaction. "Good. Let's keep it." When Ryan finally left, Emily sat frozen, her mind racing. It wasn't just that Lucas had woken up, it was that he had looked at Ryan with terror. The fear in his eyes was undeniable. Lucas wasn't just afraid, he was afraid of his brother. And Emily suddenly knew this wasn't an accident. Something far more dangerous was unfolding right in front of her. Emily's hands trembled as she clutched her notebook, heart still pounding from the night Lucas briefly woke up. She knew what she saw. Lucas had opened his eyes. He had squeezed her hand. He had looked absolutely terrified, and she knew exactly who he was afraid of. His own brother. The next morning, Emily rushed to Dr. Harris's office, desperate to report everything. She told her about the eye movements, the hand squeeze, the brief awakening, the fear in Lucas's eyes when Ryan appeared. But Dr. Harris didn't seem convinced. "Emily," she sighed, "I know you care, but you're getting too emotionally involved. You've been by his side for months. Sometimes nurses start to see things that aren't really there." "I'm not imagining this," Emily pleaded. "Lucas is trying to wake up. He's trying to tell us something." Dr. Harris folded her arms, her face firm. "There are no official signs of consistent consciousness. I can't authorize additional treatment or delay the transfer based on feelings, but that's final." Emily left the office, frustration boiling inside her. She couldn't let this go. She wouldn't let this go. She needed proof. Determined, Emily spent her break in the hospital archives. She pulled up every report related to Lucas's accident, police files, ambulance notes, medical assessments. She read them all carefully. And that's when she saw it. The mechanic's note about the car's failed brakes. The report claimed it was wear and tear. A tragic accident. But when Emily compared the photos from the scene with the maintenance records, something didn't add up. Lucas's car had been serviced just 2 days before the crash. The brakes had been in perfect condition. Her fingers ran over the words again and again. This wasn't an accident. Someone tampered with the car. As Emily pieced the puzzle together, a cold shadow fell across her. "I heard you've been asking a lot of questions." Emily spun around. Ryan Bennett stood just behind her, his smile as sharp as broken glass. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with warning. "I know you care about my brother," he said softly, "but sometimes the curiosity is dangerous, especially when you don't know the whole story." Emily forced her voice to stay steady. "I just want what's best for Lucas." "Of course," Ryan said smoothly, "but maybe what's best for everyone is to let go. Some people don't come back. Some people shouldn't come back." His words sank like stones in her chest. He didn't just want Lucas gone. He needed him gone. "I understand," Emily whispered, lowering her eyes, pretending to back down. Ryan's smile widened. "Good girl." But as soon as he turned and walked away, Emily's resolve hardened. She wouldn't stop. She just had to be smarter. That night, Emily brought a small voice recorder hidden deep in her pocket. She carefully set it near Lucas's bed, pressing the record button as she sat beside him. "Lucas," she whispered, "I need you to help me. I know you're in there. I know you're trying. Please, tell me what happened." For several long minutes, there was only silence. The steady beep of the heart monitor filled the room. Emily's throat tightened. Maybe he couldn't come back. Maybe she had already lost him. But then Lucas's fingers twitched. His lips parted, dry and weak, and a breathy whisper slipped out. "Ryan tried to kill me." Emily's heart slammed against her ribs. She had caught it. She had proof. But before she could even react, the door burst open. 2 security guards stepped inside, their faces stern. They weren't from the usual hospital team. These were Ryan's men. "What are you doing?" one of them barked. Emily's hand shot toward her pocket, trying to stop the recorder, but it was too late. They spotted it. One of the men yanked the recorder from the bedside table, pressing stop as he glared at her. "This is not allowed," he said coldly. "You're violating hospital policy." Emily's throat went dry. She tried to explain, but they didn't care. They had caught her, and now they had the recording. Panic swirled in her chest. The one piece of evidence she had was now in their hands. The call came early the next morning. Emily's chest tightened as she answered, hoping, praying it was a mistake, but it wasn't. Emily Parker, you're hereby suspended pending investigation for breaching hospital policy, effective immediately. Her voice caught in her throat. But what? I was only trying to... It's out of my hands, Dr. Harris cut in, her voice distant, as if she had already given up. The administration was pressured. You crossed the line by recording a patient without consent. You know the rules. Emily wanted to scream. She wanted to tell her that Ryan had forced this, that he was manipulating everyone. But would it matter? Ryan's influence ran deep, too deep. When Emily arrived to collect her things, the security guards were waiting. Not the regular team, but the same men from before. Ryan's men. They escorted her to her locker and out of the hospital like she was a criminal. The worst part. She couldn't even say goodbye to Lucas. Emily walked home that evening, her stomach churning with anger and helplessness. Lucas was alone in there, and Ryan was tightening his grip. No one else believed her. No one wanted to help. Everyone either feared Ryan or simply didn't care. But Emily couldn't walk away. She wouldn't. That night, under the cover of darkness, Emily slipped back into the hospital. She knew the side entrance by the loading dock was rarely watched. Her heart pounded in her chest as she crept through the empty hallways, keeping her head low, ducking behind carts and supply closets whenever footsteps echoed nearby. When she reached Lucas's floor, she paused outside his door, her breathing quick and shallow. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, Ryan Bennett stood by his brother's bedside, his voice low and cold. "You've always been the favorite, Lucas," Ryan whispered, his hand resting just above Lucas's on the bed. "The golden boy, the one they all loved. But you were weak. You didn't deserve what you had." Emily's blood ran cold. Ryan leaned closer to Lucas's ear, his words like poison. "I warned you, didn't I? That night in the car, I told you it wasn't personal. Just necessary. You can't stop me now, you're already gone." Lucas's heart monitor suddenly beeped faster. His pulse spiked wildly. Ryan smirked and gently patted his brother's arm. "Sleep well, Lucas." As Ryan turned to leave, Emily panicked. There was nowhere to run. She quickly ducked into the supply closet across the hall, pressing her back against the shelves, holding her breath as Ryan's footsteps echoed closer. He passed by without noticing her. Emily waited until the hallway was silent before creeping back into Lucas's room. She sat by his side, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry, Lucas. I got caught. I lost the recording. They suspended me. But I'm not giving up. I'll find another way. I swear to you." His heart rate, still fast, seemed to settle a little as she spoke. Emily reached for his hand. "I'm going to protect you. I don't care what it takes." But as she left the hospital that night, walking quickly through the parking lot, she felt something that made her skin crawl. A pair of headlights slowly flicked on behind her. A black car. It crept along the curb, trailing her at a distance. Emily's pace quickened. She crossed the street. The car followed. She ducked into an alleyway, heart racing, but when she peeked out, the black car was still there, waiting, its engine idling. Panic rose in her throat. Was this Ryan's warning, or something worse? Emily broke into a run, weaving through side streets until she lost the car, but she knew it wouldn't be the last time. She wasn't just in a fight for Lucas's life anymore. She was now in a fight for her own. Emily's breath came in sharp gasps as she sprinted through dark alleys, heart hammering in her chest. The black car's headlights swerved around corners behind her, tires screeching. She darted into a side street, squeezing behind a dumpster, trembling as the car slowly crawled past. She waited until the hum of the engine faded before bolting in the opposite direction, weaving through back roads until she finally reached her apartment. Slamming the door shut, she locked it, her whole body shaking. They weren't just watching her. They were hunting her. Emily knew she couldn't do this alone anymore. First thing the next morning, she reached out to Dr. Harris. At first, the doctor refused to meet. She was still angry, still convinced Emily had crossed too many lines, but Emily begged, pleaded, to give her 5 minutes. Reluctantly, Dr. Harris agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near the hospital. Emily arrived early, clutching the accident files she'd copied before she was suspended. When Dr. Harris sat down, her face was guarded, but Emily spoke quickly, pouring out everything: Ryan's threats, the missing break report, the whispers Lucas had made. "Please," Emily said desperately, "just look at this. If I'm wrong, I'll walk away. But if I'm right, Lucas's life is still in danger." She slid the files and a backup recording across the table. Dr. Harris scanned the documents, her brow slowly tightening. "His breaks were new," Emily whispered. "There's no way they failed on their own. And listen to this. This was recorded during one of my last visits." Emily pressed play on the small recorder. Lucas's broken whisper echoed faintly. "Ryan tried to kill me." Dr. Harris's face paled. She played the whisper twice, then a third time, as if trying to convince herself it was real. Finally, she looked at Emily, the doubt melting from her eyes. "You were telling the truth all along." Emily exhaled in shaky relief. "Will you help me?" Dr. Harris hesitated for a heartbeat, then gave a firm nod. "Yes, but we have to be smart. Ryan's reach inside this hospital is dangerous." With Dr. Harris's help, Emily was granted temporary off-the-books access to Lucas. They worked together to create a quiet, private space where Emily could continue her sessions, away from Ryan's watchful eyes. Day after day, Emily sat by Lucas's side reading to him, playing his favorite songs, and reminding him of the life he had before the crash. "You're strong, Lucas," she whispered. "You have to fight. Please come back." Slowly, Lucas's responses grew stronger. He blinked deliberately. He squeezed her hand with more force. He even turned his head slightly when Emily spoke. Dr. Harris documented every sign of progress quietly, creating an unofficial file that Ryan couldn't touch. Then one afternoon, after weeks of tireless effort, Lucas's eyes fluttered open and stayed open. Tears filled Emily's eyes. "Lucas, you're back. You're really back." He looked at her, confused but aware. His lips moved, but no sound came out. His throat was too weak. His voice was gone for now. Emily gently placed a notepad and pen in his hand. "Write to me," she said softly. His fingers trembled as he scratched out a single word: proof. Emily's heart raced. "You remember. You know what happened." Lucas slowly nodded. "We'll find the proof," Emily promised. "We'll stop him." But across town, Ryan Bennett sat in his luxury office, sipping whiskey when his phone buzzed. "Lucas is awake," the voice on the other end said nervously. "He's responding." Ryan's glass paused mid-air, his jaw clenched. "Take care of it," he ordered coldly. "I want no loose ends." He hung up, his expression dark. Lucas had survived, and now Ryan was ready to finish what he started. This time, for good. Ryan moved fast, too fast. Within hours of learning Lucas was awake, he pushed through emergency papers to have him transferred to a long-term care facility, one notorious for its poor safety records, a place where accidents conveniently happened. Emily overheard the plan from a nurse's hushed conversation near the nurse's station. Her stomach twisted into knots as she sprinted to Dr. Harris's office. "They're moving him tonight," Emily panted, breathless. "We have to stop them." Dr. Harris immediately began calling the hospital board, trying to block the transfer through legal channels. But Ryan's paperwork was airtight. He'd used his power to override their objections. "Even if we take this to court, by the time anything happens, Lucas will be gone," Dr. Harris said, frustration lining her voice. "We're out of time." Emily's heart pounded in her ears. "Then we'll have to stop it another way." Dr. Harris blinked. "What are you saying?" Emily's gaze hardened. "We help Lucas escape." The plan was risky, dangerous, probably illegal, but Emily didn't care. She wasn't going to let Ryan win. That night, Emily used her old hospital badge, one she'd never returned, to sneak inside. She met Dr. Harris near the back entrance, where they quickly switched Lucas from his hospital bed to a wheelchair. Lucas was still weak, his body frail, but his eyes were sharp now, burning with determination. "We're going to get you somewhere safe," Emily whispered as they rolled him quietly through the halls. Dr. Harris covered for them, calling for a routine scan to buy them precious minutes. They slipped past security and loaded Lucas into the back of Dr. Harris's car. They didn't speak much during the drive. Time was precious. Dr. Harris dropped them at an abandoned nurses' quarters, an old building once used for hospital staff years ago. It was quiet, dusty, and most importantly, off the grid. Emily helped Lucas inside, setting him up on a makeshift bed. "You're safe here," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if it was true. Lucas scribbled on his notepad, his handwriting shaky. "Thank you." Emily smiled, but worry still clung to her. "Lucas, you said proof. What do you remember? Can you tell me now?" Lucas nodded, gripping the pen tighter. Slowly he wrote, "Ryan didn't cut the brakes himself. He hired someone. A hitman." Emily's chest tightened. "Do you know who?" Lucas paused. His hand trembled as he wrote, "I saw him once. Scar on his neck." Emily's mind raced. A hitman was still out there. Someone who knew Ryan's secrets. Someone who wouldn't hesitate to finish the job if he found out Lucas was alive. Lucas tapped the notepad again, as if urging her to pay attention. He scribbled a final word, danger. Emily understood. Even here they weren't safe. The next few days passed in a blur. Emily kept Lucas hidden, bringing him food and water, helping him slowly regain his strength. She contacted Dr. Harris secretly for medical advice and updates on Ryan's movements. But Ryan wasn't sitting still. He'd already sent his people searching. One night, as Emily returned to the quarters with supplies, she noticed a black car parked 2 blocks away. Her stomach sank. She didn't look directly at it, but quickened her pace. Inside, Lucas greeted her with a weak smile. His speech had begun to return, but he could only manage soft, broken words. Emily sat beside him, sharing the sandwiches she'd brought. "We're going to figure this out," she promised. "We'll find the hitman. We'll get real proof." Lucas's eyes flicked toward the window. Emily followed his gaze and froze. The front door was slowly creaking open. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Emily jumped to her feet, her heart slamming in her chest. She rushed to lock the inner door, but it was too late. A man stepped inside, a tall figure with a deep scar running down his neck. The hitman. His cold eyes landed on Lucas, then Emily. "You've caused a lot of problems," he growled, pulling something from his coat. Emily's pulse roared in her ears. They were trapped. And this time, there might be no escape. The hitman's cold eyes stayed locked on Emily and Lucas as he stepped further into the room, his hand tightening around a small pistol hidden in his jacket. Emily's breath hitched. She had no weapon. No way out. Her mind raced. "Please," Emily begged, placing herself between the hitman and Lucas. "You don't have to do this." The man smirked. "It's nothing personal. I just finish what I'm paid to start." Emily's eyes darted around the room. She had to stall. "What does Ryan want now? Lucas is alive. It's over." The hitman laughed bitterly. "For you? Maybe. But Ryan's afraid. Lucas remembers too much. And now, I have to clean up the mess." Lucas, still weak, trembled in his chair, but managed to grip his notepad. Slowly, with shaking hands, he clicked on a voice recorder Emily had secretly given him earlier. The hitman didn't notice. "You're not walking out of here," Emily said, desperation lacing her voice. "You think Ryan's going to protect you? Once you're done, he'll erase you too." The hitman's smirk faltered, just for a moment. "I've heard that before," Emily pressed, inching toward the hitman as slowly as possible. "Do you even know if he paid the last guy who cleaned up his mess?" The hitman's jaw tightened. That's when Lucas dropped his notepad loudly on the floor, drawing the hitman's attention. Emily seized the moment, grabbing a metal tray from the nearby table and hurling it with all her strength. It struck the hitman's arm, knocking his aim wide, just as he fired. The shot blasted into the wall. "Run, Lucas!" Emily screamed as she rushed the hitman, shoving him backward. Lucas, using every ounce of his fragile strength, pushed himself up and staggered toward the door. The hitman shoved Emily hard, sending her crashing to the ground, but the precious seconds had been enough. Lucas escaped into the hallway. The hitman tore after him. Emily scrambled to her feet and chased them through the dark corridors of the old nurses' quarters. As they burst into the parking lot, flashing lights suddenly lit up the area. Police cars swarmed in from all sides. Dr. Harris had called them after tracking Emily's last message. "Drop the weapon," an officer shouted. The hitman froze, realizing he'd been caught. But Lucas didn't stop moving. He held out the recorder, his voice hoarse but strong. "I have everything," he confessed. Emily ran to Lucas, supporting him as his legs buckled. The police arrested the hitman, quickly uncovering his connection to Ryan Bennett. The recording was damning. On it, the hitman admitted Ryan paid him to sabotage the car, and that Ryan planned to finish Lucas off if he ever woke up. The evidence spread like wildfire. The next morning, Ryan was arrested. His empire crumbled overnight. Shareholders abandoned him. His public image was destroyed. Emily and Lucas stood together outside the courthouse as the news cameras flashed around them. The nightmare was finally over. In the weeks that followed, Lucas made a full recovery. With Emily's help, he returned to lead his company, not for power, but to rebuild what Ryan nearly destroyed. He focused on honesty, on people, and on protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. But the most precious thing Lucas rebuilt was his relationship with Emily. They had been through the darkest of times together: fear, betrayal, life-threatening danger, and in the end, they found something neither of them expected: love. One afternoon, as Emily was checking hospital charts in the ward where they first met, Lucas walked in, holding a small velvet box. Emily turned, surprised. "Lucas, what's this?" Lucas smiled, his voice now steady and strong. "I started my life again in this hospital because of you." He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful ring. "Emily Carter, will you start the rest of it with me?" Tears filled Emily's eyes as she nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." They embraced, surrounded by the soft hum of the hospital, a place that had once been filled with sorrow but now felt like home. But as they celebrated their new beginning, far away in a cold prison cell, Ryan sat silently, his eyes dark with rage. His plans had failed. His freedom was gone. But his stare burned into the camera filming his trial, cold, sharp, and full of silent promises. This might not be over. If this story moved you, the whisper that changed everything, the desperate race against time, the shocking betrayal by family, and the love that blossomed against all odds, make sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more emotional, suspense-filled stories like this one. Ring the notification bell so you never miss a moment where secrets are uncovered and true love wins. Share this story with someone who believes in fighting for the truth, no matter the cost. See you in the next story.